What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Power Play with CJ. John Ondrasik, 5 for Fighting, wrote a very, very good piece on fighting and hockey that kind of shed a new light on it. For me, anyway, I was kind of fun, 5 for Fighting, and I'm not going to say he came out totally against it, but that hockey can be just as good and it can involve just as much toughness and tenacity without fighting. Like his LA Kings teams. They don't fight a lot, but that they're as tough to play against as any team in the league. And it's kind of the opposite of their Southern California counterparts. When they won the Cup in '07, they would fight anyone. I mean, I think they did lead the league in fights that year, which led to, I think, an uptick in more fights, which is weird because I think Carolina won it the year before them. They did win it the year before them, but I think they had the lowest fighting totals in the league. So it is what it is. But one thing I really like that he did was he talked to Landon Donovan, the great soccer player from the LA Galaxy, about if you put the concept of having a team enforcer on a soccer team, and you kind of read it like, it sounds so idiotic. It's like, but hockey does it. Hockey has the guy that, oh, you want to hit my guy? You're one punched, and it's kind of like, oh, yeah. And, I have no problem with honest, tough guys that can play. My Bruins got Sean Thornton and Adam McQuaid. I mean, they can play, and you don't want to mess with them. Guys like that. And if you're going to talk about getting, it's the John Scotts of the world that, serve no purpose other than you're 6'8", go out there and fight someone. That's it. And, they can't play, and they put other players at risk with their inability to play. Patrick Coletta, guys like that. And, even going a step further, before you get rid of fighting hockey, get rid of the Ulf Samuelsons, the Patrick Colettas, and the, the Matt Cooks of the world. 'Cause I know Matt Cooks changed his ways. I know. He's a changed man. I don't buy that for a second, but hey, it is what it is. And, I think fighting will always be there in hockey. I think I don't want to say minimizing the role, but to a certain degree, yeah, could be beneficial to the game because, as Landon Donovan said, if you have soccer enforcers going out punching the crap out of guys, what kind of message does that send to kids? And you want to talk about violence in video games and stuff, but, being allowed to watch a game where, you get to punch the shit out of someone and then sit in a box for 5 minutes. It's like, oh yeah. And then it's pretty cool if you take that as a stage name too, which honestly, like I can't reiterate how awesome of a stage name that is. Even though he said it probably cost his record labels about 500,000 album sales over the years, but you got to take what you can get, right? And I'm sure that he said himself, the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks. But I think we got to take a bigger look at it, and he referenced it in the piece, the lawsuit the NFL is faced and has to pay off, which I don't think that's the tip of the iceberg, to be honest with you, in terms of concussions. And one thing I want to talk about is Wade Belak. I saw him play for Nashville in like '09. He was the biggest, baddest dog on the block. Tattoos, long hair. I mean, you didn't mess with this guy. The fact that he hung himself, 2 years ago, just this badass dude hanging from a loft in Ontario, it makes you look at it through a different perspective. All those hits to the head. Bugard was the same way. And, by looking at it and looking at the impact those hits to the head have. And I know a few NHL players, Noah Welch, and I think Brooks Orpik for the Penguins as well, have agreed to donate their brains to Harvard after they die, the Harvard medical facilities, because they want to take it. It'll be a while before we get a status quo on concussions, but people always say, well, it's hits that cause concussions. Well, getting punched in the head a few times, will definitely do its work on you, and I'm curious to see how that happens. But that's my thing against fighting. Like I said, my favorite player of all time is Cam Neely. I mean, he, not just for the fact he scored 50 goals a few times, but he was the toughest guy in the NHL, and he was an honest, tough guy. He played you straight up, and when it was time to go, he could go. And but he put him in the hall. He's in the Hall of Fame, but he'd be in the Hall of Fame if he never dropped the gloves. That's just how skilled he was as a player. But there's sides to every argument, and I really appreciate Ondrasik sharing his, because it's I like hearing different perspectives. And if you just hear one side of the story all the time, where are you going to get in life? But that's on this episode of The Power Play with CJ on the response to the 5 for Fighting SI article. Stay tuned for more episodes throughout the season and beyond. Later, guys.